Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Sideline Shenanigans podcast today with Jacob Maggard
Colin Richardson.
as you can tell, Colin has joined us from the car today, but it is nice and quiet in the car. He had some loudness issues, got him in the car, nice and quiet. It's his own private space, and so we're gonna roll just like we normally do through this mock draft. Of course, if you guys enjoy the content, like, subscribe, comment, helps the channel out a ton. Gonna have other things on the channel, NBA, starting to cover that. But we'll just dive right into this. This is our final mock. This is what we think will happen tomorrow night on draft night. Not necessarily what we think should happen, but what will happen is what we're trying to get, what we're trying to predict. Always preface it with, we're not going to be anywhere near right. You're never going to get them all right. They always say if you get 10 of them right, you're an expert. So that's the goal here is just see how many we can get right, how many teams we can predict. And starting off with number one here, we're going to alternate picks, but number one's the one we're guaranteed going to get right, and that is Fernando Mendoza going to the Vegas Raiders. They absolutely need a quarterback. Tom Brady has met with him. He loves the guy. He said, "This is our quarterback moving forward." And the team has already pretty much set that pick up. You might as well just say the Jets are on the clock whenever the draft starts tomorrow because Fernando Mendoza is as good of a lock as there really ever has been in these drafts. I mean, Joe Burrow, you think about his guarantee, he was going that high. Trevor Lawrence. Mendoza's in the same boat when it comes to just being locked into the number one overall pick to a QB needy team. So, going to see him going there at number one. Colin, rolling into number two. Who are you going to have the Jets taking here?
Yeah, I've got him going with David Bailey out of Texas Tech. Uh, you know, like you said, not exactly who we think it should be, but
Yeah.
what's probably going to happen, and that's what everyone's saying. In my opinion, he's not the second best player in the draft, but I think that's probably who the Jets are going to end up taking. He had a great year, don't get me wrong, and I think he's going to be a great player. I just think there's some better players available, obviously at number two, but it seems that this is the way that the Jets are going to go, and I hope it works out for them because they really need some help on just about everywhere. So getting a key defensive end, outside linebacker would be great, a great start for their rebuild.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, they honestly, you could list their draft needs as everything. They pretty much need to add at every position. David Bailey is the surefire edge rusher in this draft. He gets after the quarterback at a super high level. He did it in college. And so the prediction is this guy could come into the league and be the instant pass rush threat that they need coming off the outside. Who knows? I think we both kind of agree that Arvo Reese might be the more high upside guy, maybe the better project and can lead into a superstar. But David Bailey's been heavily linked to them, and I think that's where he goes at two. Rolling on to number three here with the Cardinals, and this is also a pretty easy pick in my opinion. They've kind of set some smoke screens here over the last couple days, saying Jeremiah Love is really in the conversation. I don't know what to believe there. I don't necessarily think they're going to do that. They did just go out and sign Tyler Algier in the offseason. They already have James Conner, although it's only a 1 year deal. And it's hard to put that much money into running back whenever you have other issues. So I'm going to stray away from that. I'm going to go with what is probably the best player left on the board other than Jeremiah Love, and that is Arvell Reese out of Ohio State. If you didn't know, this is going to be a very high Ohio State draft. There's going to be a lot of players coming from that university. They're going to end up in this top 10 and inside this top 32. But the Cardinals are getting a stud edge rusher potentially. That's the big question mark here is, does he ever reach the potential of what he could become? If he does, this could be one of the best players in this entire draft. Me and Colin have harped on how good of a combine he have. We've talked about the skill that you can just clearly see when he's on the field, but he's not even had 100 pass rush snaps. So the question mark is there that if he plays the edge rush position, will he be able to do that at a high level in the NFL? If not, he's playing the outside linebacker position and he's doing that really well. So love the player, love the fit. Think the Cardinals end up going with Reese there. Moving on to number four here. This is the wrinkle in our draft. Colin is a Steelers fan. I'm a Titans fan. If you've been here before, you know that. If not, now you do. And we pick for our own teams. So I'm going to be picking here again for the Titans at four. And to me, it's a one or two. You got two options. It's Jeremiah Love, it's Sonny Styles. And the comparisons that Sonny Styles are getting to Fred Warner, that makes you think that Robert Saleh would more than love to have him on the roster because Fred Warner is probably the best linebacker in the NFL right now. But Jeremiah Love is staring you in the face, and he might be the best player in this draft. He might be the best, most talented, highest level player in the draft. And I think if you're the Titans, you can't pass that up. You need to give weapons to Cam Ward. This guy can catch passes out of the backfield just like any receiver can do for you in the open field. I love the player. Again, I think that best comparison that I've given this entire draft process is this is an Olympic level athlete playing running back. That is the exact comparison I give him. This guy could go perform in the Olympics in 4 years and he'd do well in it. That's how good he is. That's how athletic he is. And love the fit. I think it makes a lot of sense for the Titans, who, if you look at a Mount Rushmore of running backs, the Titans might have one of the best ever. Eddie George, Earl Campbell, Chris Johnson, Derrick Henry. The list goes on of guys that are potentially Hall of Famers, and Derrick might be one of the greatest to ever do it. So they love to draft running backs. They love to play with running backs, and they like to have those guys leading their offense. Makes perfect sense that Jeremiah Love falls in the lap of the Tennessee Titans there at number 4. Colin rolling into number 5 with the Giants, who now have 2 picks inside the top 10. Where are you going to have them going with number 5?
Yep, number 5, I've got him going with Sonny Styles out of Ohio State. Like you said, a heavy Ohio State draft.
Yeah.
This one is kind of always is anymore. They're always super talented.
Mhm.
This guy had an incredible combine. Like you said, Arvell Reese had a good combine. This guy kind of like blew everyone out of the
Yeah.
water, not just Arvell Reese, just
Yeah.
everyone that participated pretty much. And like we've said, whenever he was running through his combine, they had the comparison to Kyle Hamilton, and it was almost identical. I don't think he's going to play like Kyle Hamilton role, but you've seen Kyle Hamilton kind of move down in the box, play some linebacker, and I think that Sonny Styles can drop back in coverage and do fairly well there as well. So, like I said, I don't think he's going to play as much safety as Kyle Hamilton, but I think he will be just fine in coverage, and I think he'll be a great linebacker. And I think with John Harbaugh, I think that that's a great fit for a coach for him, and I think that the Giants is a great fit for him as well. So I love that pick for the Giants.
Yeah, and like I said, he got those Fred Warner comparisons for a reason, and that's because he has such high upside. He has such high potential, but it also feels like a safe pick. It doesn't feel like Sonny Styles is going to enter the NFL and ever be bad. He feels like he's going to be a very good player, and maybe he doesn't reach Hall of Fame potential, or maybe he doesn't reach All Pro potential, but the guy's going to start for you, and he's going to start for you for a long time. So I love the pick there for the Giants. I think they're getting a really, really good player, and this might be one of the other top players in this draft. And positional value is really the only reason he's going at number 5 instead of ending up at number 1 or 2. Moving on to number 6 here with the Cleveland Browns. They're looking at a guy that's been in the state. He's been there for a while and he's played in cold weather. He knows how to handle playing in super nice weather, but then they get the super cold, and Cleveland has that for sure. They have games that are just pouring the snow, and they need a number 1 receiver. They need a reliable guy. That's Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. We talked about it already 2 times now with Ohio State players. We're going to mention it again. There is tons of talent coming from Ohio State, and the Browns, they got a better look than anybody else did. They were able to send scouts to every single game because they're in the same state. And if you watch this guy play football, you know he can be an X receiver. He can be an outside guy that makes plays for you. And whoever that quarterback is, they need a steady target, someone they can go to constantly. To me, Jerry Jeudy just isn't that for you. He's had a lot of ups and downs in the NFL, and Carnell Tate could maybe be the more controlled and doing the right things all the time type of player for them. Also seems like a really good person. He seems like he's done a lot of off the field stuff that it favors him to not have any issues off the field. And those kinds of guys, high upside, but also really good character. Teams love those types of players. So makes perfect sense for the Browns there that need a wide receiver 1. And that's where Carnell Tate lands. Rolling into number 7 here, maybe another taste of Ohio State. Colin, we're going to have the Washington Commanders going here.
We've got him going with Caleb Downs, another Ohio State guy. That should do it for Ohio State for a little bit at least.
Yeah.
The top of this class is absolutely loaded with Ohio State, and this guy is another guy that's dropping just because of positional value. He's
Yep.
arguably the best defensive player in this draft, maybe the best player overall.
Yep.
He's 3 or 4, however many years he's been in college, he's been a starter. He started as a true freshman at Alabama and got over 100 tackles, which is very, very impressive because that was when Alabama was absolutely rolling. So they had a stacked roster, and he was part of it. So I love this pick for the Commanders here. I mean, I think that this guy's going to be phenomenal. He's had some concern with his knees or
Yeah.
something to that effect, but assuming that just passes over and there's nothing serious there, I think that this guy's going to be a phenomenal player in the NFL.
Yep, absolutely. And there's the question marks, like you said, with the injuries. And there's a couple guys on this board actually that we'll talk about that have had a couple things come up. But it seems like teams have kind of gotten past that and said, man, he played all 3 years. He didn't have a situation like Jermod McCoy where he missed an entire season. That injury seems to be very serious. I mean, he hasn't played football in over a year. So Caleb Downs, that he didn't have that problem. He made starts. He was out there. He was playing, and he did have a couple games where he maybe wasn't fully healthy, but he was on the field, and he was a heck of a playmaker when he was on the field. Like you said, maybe the best player in the draft, certainly in the conversation for the best defensive player in this draft. And the Commanders, they need help on that defensive side of the ball. They're a lot older than a lot of these teams in the NFL. And the defense is one of those places you don't want to be really old because the guys start getting a little bit slower, a little bit less agile, not maybe to make the plays that they would make when they were younger. So you get this young piece in Caleb Downs who can slot in and be the captain of the defense in the secondary, which is kind of rare. I think he's a really, really good player. I think it makes a lot of sense that the Commanders would go with him there at number 7. Rolling on to number 8 here with the New Orleans Saints. And of course, the question mark is, where are they going to go? There is a couple options. They could look at receiver, try to help out Tyler Shuck, but do you really want to go with an injury-riddled guy in Jordan Tyson? I think they're going to avoid that. I think they're going to go on the defensive side of the ball, and they need an edge rusher to replace Cameron Jordan, who's been there for years on years on years, and that is going to be Ruben Bain Jr. And if you have question marks about his arm length, I want you to go back and watch the tape. Go back and watch this guy play college football. His arm length didn't cause any issues when he was in college, and I know he's going to be playing against top-end NFL talent, and that's a different place. It's a different type of talent, but the guy was dominating in college. It wasn't like he was some average level guy that had some flashy moments. He was the best player on his team that made the national championship game. So I think you can really rely on that and hope that this guy is the answer at the edge rush position. He was originally in the conversation to be the number 2 player off this board, and that's just because he didn't play quarterback. Otherwise, he'd have been in the conversation for number 1. So now that he's dropped down the board due to the arm length question marks, I think you're still getting a superstar player, and maybe you're getting good value out of him at number 8. I think the Saints would be very happy to land a guy that wreaked havoc like he did in college. Rolling on here into pick number 9 with the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, this is a rumored trade back spot potentially with the Chiefs at 9. A couple teams that looking at this pick could be potentially the Cowboys. But I think that there's kind of a player that they both want. And so I think the Chiefs may stick and pick here. Colin, where are you going to have them going at number 9?
Yeah, I've got him going with Mansour Delane out of LSU, former Hokie.
Yep.
He had a heck of a year at LSU. He was really good at Virginia Tech. The Chiefs just traded away Trent McDuffie. So I think they're pretty low at corner. So this pick makes sense for them.
Yeah.
And not only that, they're getting a really good player as well. I think he's clearly the best corner in this draft. And like I said, the Chiefs are running low at that position. Don't have the best talent there right now, and I think they're getting a super talented guy in Mansour Delane here at 9. So I love the value for it as well. So I love this pick for the Chiefs.
Yeah, and again, like you said, this is kind of a blue chip type of prospect. He's not necessarily blue chip. It's hard to call him that, but he's the best corner in this draft. He also doesn't have the health concerns that maybe a Jermod McCoy or someone else down the board that has. So those question marks aren't there. And then, like you said, on top of that, he was good at Virginia Tech, but man, he stepped into becoming one of the best defensive players in the entire country through the first 5, 6 weeks of the season, where he had a 99.9 PFF grade, which was the best in college football. He was basically untouchable in man coverage, which is where he's a specialist. Go watch his tape there. Very impressive man coverage corner, can stick with a guy very well. And you know it just as well as I do. The Chiefs, with all those losses in the offseason, if they want to get back to winning, they need a corner out there that can shut somebody down. That is a perfect guy to go out and take to try to do that in next year's season. Moving on to number 10 here with the New York Giants. Since the last time we mocked, this has been traded. This is a different pick, and this is why we wait till the last second to try to make these final mocks, because you don't know who's going to end up there. The Giants, they trade Sexy Dexy, Dexter Lawrence to the Cincinnati Bengals, which, in my opinion, very good for the Bengals, especially if you get the version of Dexter Lawrence that is incredible, which was one of the best defensive linemen in all of football just 2 years ago. But it is also pretty good value for the Giants. You're not paying a D-tackle a ton of money, but you're also coming up into this draft and getting another guy that can help this team immediately. And to me, the answer here is go out and draft a receiver who has incredible upside, and that is Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. There was the rumor forever that they may go with a receiver at number 5, and now you're getting the value down the board a little bit. It makes more sense that you do that. He has the injury concerns, and you're just going to have to look past those. If you're a fan of the Giants and you're worried about that, I can't really calm your nerves. He had a lot of injuries, 3 straight seasons of injuries, but the talent is unbelievable. It's undeniable that he may be the best receiver in this class. He might be better than Tate, but Tate doesn't have the injury history, which makes him go higher. I love what Tyson can do for you. I think beside Malik Neighbors, that can make a dynamic duo. It's all about health. It's all about, does he have availability? Does he make it on the field for you each and every Sunday? And if he does, he's going to be one of the better receivers on this roster and maybe one of the better receivers in the NFL if he can figure out how to stay on the football field. Colin, Ronan to number 11 here with the Dolphins. Where are you going to have them going?
Yep, I've got him going with Francis Mauigoa out of Miami. He's
Yep.
staying in Miami, going to the Dolphins. Honestly, all the tackles in this draft, they don't have any of them like super high, but
Yep.
if you look at their stats throughout the year, pretty much all of them perform super, super well. They
Yep.
just have concerns, whether it be arm lengths, didn't test well at the combine, or whatever the case is. But if you just look at their college stats and college performance, all these tackles performed really well. So I think that could kind of be like a sleeper position in this draft, as far down on the board as these guys are going. So I love this pick for the Dolphins. Obviously, they need somebody to protect their new quarterback.
Yep.
You don't want to see, God forbid, what happened to Tua
Yeah.
happen to who's playing quarterback there now. So I think that this pick would be great for Miami, adding a big guy to protect your quarterback. So you can never go wrong drafting a tackle, really.
Yeah, and like you said, you add in the trenches, and it's never a bad idea. You have so many injuries. You have so many guys that end up leaving in free agency. It's so hard to find the right guy in free agency because teams want to pay their tackles. If they're good enough, they got to keep them because it's really hard to find super talented ones. And this guy could be that. Like you said, you got to protect Malik Willis, who's back there now. They gave him a big contract, and that was kind of a big deal because then they go out and trade Jalen Waddle, and so he has nobody to throw the ball to right now. So you got to at least protect him. You got to give him the tackles that can help him stay healthy, and then maybe down the board when they have that late pick that they acquired via the Jalen Waddle trade, you're able to go out, grab a receiver at pick 30, and that makes your team just that much better for next season. Who knows how that situation can play out, but I think he looked really good at times as a backup, and so they're going to rely on him with Mauigoa protecting him going into next season. Love Francis, think he's a great player, and like you said before, he's literally playing all of his home football games in the exact same stadium. He'll know the locker room, he'll know the situation, he'll know how it feels to play in that heat. So it is going to be very fun for him, probably just to stay in the same place and roll on into the Dolphins Stadium and play games for them. Rolling on into number 12 here with the Dallas Cowboys, and like I said, this is a potential rumored trade up team because they have picks 12 and picks 20. And so you could use that as really good trade bait for someone to try to jump over someone else. But they're sticking and picking in our draft because we're doing no trades in the final mock. And I think they got to go with a cornerback here. And it's just because of the versatility, but also the value. Jermon McCoy. And the question mark really is, how healthy will he be? Jordan Tyson maybe has the exact same question marks that Jermon McCoy has, and I think the talent is clearly there. This is a guy that would maybe be in the conversation, if not better than Mansour Delane, but I think McCoy missed an entire season, and you can't ignore that. And so I think teams will think about it, but Dallas, they need secondary help so bad that I think it's good for them to take the upside swing. Hope you hit a home run. Hope you get Jermod McCoy that played for the Vols 2 seasons ago, where he was one of the best corners in the entire country. I think he's a very good player. I think he has the potential to be a superstar for the Dallas Cowboys. It's just all about staying healthy and being able to play football. There's going to be some mocks that have him fall all the way down to 30, but we're going to have him going high today based on purely the talent, the player that he is, and teams just saying, man, we got to take the shot on him, especially a team like Dallas who needs secondary help so bad. Rolling on in number 13 here, of course, this pick acquired by the Atlanta Falcons trade from last season, and the Rams have an interesting pick here, Colin, at 13. Where do you have them going?
Yeah, I've got him going with Spencer Fano out of Utah, and getting a tackle. They're going to have to protect Matthew Stafford. He can't really move anymore. He's getting super, super old. Want to keep him healthy. He's still a really good quarterback. Obviously, he
Yeah,
just won the MVP, but he can't move around, like I said. So
yeah,
you've got to keep him upright. And like I said, these tackles, they performed super well
yeah.
in college. Fano is no exception. He had a really, really good year at Utah. So love this pick for the Rams. The main thing is just keeping Stafford upright, because the team, assuming you get all your wide receivers back, um, the team could be unbelievable. The only question really is Stafford going to have protection? And I think you address that here.
Yeah, and there was a couple offensive linemen for them that really just played above their pay grade last season. They had some guys play better than they were supposed to, and that made that team that much better. They were able to make a big push and try to make a Super Bowl run. They just fell short, of course, to a team that was unbelievable, but I think that makes perfect sense for them at 13 because Fanu can play anywhere. There was rumors he was going to move down and play center in the NFL. Because of his versatility, that's a perfect pick for a team that needs anywhere that he could fill in and take over. Or maybe he starts at right tackle like he did at Utah. And so there's a lot of versatility. There's a lot of ability there with Spencer Fanu. I think he's a really good player. And like you said, some of these guys are a little bit underrated due to the fact that their measurables weren't incredible. But when they played football, they were really good football players. So I think you look at the tape, you say, man, Fanu was really good. He could play right tackle for us. He could play guard. And heck, if we have a center issue, he could play some center. So makes perfect sense for protecting Matthew Stafford and trying to go back and repeat and win a Super Bowl like they did a few years ago. Number 14 here with the Baltimore Ravens. One of the biggest question marks they had the entire offseason is what were they going to do to address the guard position? Because their guards were maybe the worst in football. I don't even know if it's debatable. They were the worst in football. If you have issues with your guards in the NFL, they can cause issues for your tackles, cause issues for your center, and so that just makes your offensive line that much worse. This is one of the best guard prospects we've seen in a little bit, and Vega Ione out of Penn State, a guy that's an absolute mauler, 6'4", over 300 pounds, high level run blocker. But on top of that, he hadn't given up a sack in 3 years of college football from the interior offensive line position. So if you want to protect Lamar Jackson, who's had his own injury concerns, Vega Ione could absolutely be the answer to that on the interior of the offensive line. Again, like I said before, that issue has to be fixed, and he is one of the single best players in this entire draft. Positional value, once again, kind of holds him back because he's not going to play tackle, but they desperately need guard, and this is the perfect player to slot in and do that for you at a very high level in the NFL. Rolling on to number 15 here with the Buccaneers. Colin, where are you going to have them going?
Yep, I've got him going with Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. You have a good tight end in Cade Otton, but
Yeah.
he's not a very good receiver. He's
Mhm.
more of a blocking tight end. With Kenyon Sadiq, you get everything. He's not
Yeah.
a great blocker, but he's not bad by any means. And as a receiver, I mean, you're pretty much getting a receiver.
Yeah.
He's super fast. He
Yeah.
can run great routes. He makes incredible catches.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much getting a receiver that can block just
Yeah.
a little bit better. So. And the Buccaneers, although Cade Otton is a good tight end, they were 31st in tight end
Yeah.
efficiency last year. So I love this pick for the Buccaneers. I think Kenyon Sadiq is going to be a really, really good tight end in the NFL, and I love some tight ends. So
Yeah.
I love Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah, you have to as a Steelers fan. The tight ends
Yeah,
are the offense. They're the most
yeah,
important
exactly.
piece. Yeah, I mean, like you said, Kenyon Sadiq, he runs routes like a receiver, but he also has the speed like a receiver. This dude went out and ran a 4.39 in the combine, which is just unbelievable. It's arguably one of the best tight end combines we've ever seen. But on top of that, he led college football last year from the tight end position in touchdowns with 8. And then on top of that, he broke Oregon's tight end record for receptions. So he's done a lot of good things in college, and I think he can just transfer that over to the NFL, be a superstar. And again, it never hurts to have an awesome tight end to dump the ball off to and let him make plays. And Sadiq is a playmaker absolutely at the tight end position. Rolling on to number 16 here with the Jets. And I feel like they're kind of in a dream scenario right now. They were able at the top of the board to grab a really nice player, and then they fall down the board a little bit, and they're thinking, man, we would like a receiver, but these top three maybe separate themselves from the rest. The third one ended up being here today, and this is kind of how I feel like it's fallen. I don't think the Rams should necessarily do that when they have the two receivers. They think that things are going to be good with Puka, and so this is where Mekhi Lemon ends up falling. And man, is it an awesome pick for the Jets, who can grab the Biletnikoff winner, who had one of the best college football seasons this season, of course, winning it out over players like Carnell Tate, who was also in the running, but Jeremiah Smith, who might be the number one overall pick next year, he beat that guy for this award. So very, very good player. He has sure hands. He makes the plays when they're thrown to him. And he's also a pretty good route runner. He can play the slot for you. He can maybe space out and play outside for you. I think Mekhi Lemon brings a lot of versatility in the receiver position, but he also brings consistency. And do the Jets need consistency more than ever? Because they've had very little of that over the last few years. I think it's one of the longest playoff droughts in all of sports, not just the NFL. So they've got to figure things out, and Mekhi Lemon might be a step in the right direction there at number 16. Rolling on into number 17 here on the back half of this draft, starting off with the Detroit Lions. Colin, where are you going to have them going?
It seems like pretty much a consensus across different analysts that they're really looking into Caden Proctor here. He's got a ton of upside, no doubt about that. He might not stick at tackle. You could see him going down to guard
Yeah.
because he can absolutely maul in the run game. And I mean, he's not a bad pass blocker by any means. He was a starter at Alabama, so you can't do that and be a bad pass blocker.
Yeah.
So, especially facing SEC talent. So, they're going with the upside here in Caden Proctor. I think if he turns out to be as hits his ceiling, he could be one of the best tackles in the NFL just based on his size and
Yep.
ability alone. So, super big, super athletic, a ton of upside, and the the Lions rather are in need of a tackle. We'll see where they go in the draft, but I think tackle is definitely a need for them.
Yeah, and like you said, Decker is gone, and so that's a big gap that they need to fill for this roster. They didn't make the playoffs last year, and Dan Campbell didn't seem super confident that that team was ready to do it again this year. So you got to go out and make differences here, and that's a guy that can make a difference. He absolutely could be one of the higher upside guys in this draft. There's a lot of inconsistency with Caden Proctor. He has had moments where he just doesn't look like he wants to play football, but when he does, he looks like a beast. He looks like one of those guys that could be a difference maker. And like you said before, his size is unbelievable. He's 6'7", 360 pounds. So he is one of the biggest human beings on earth right now. And he's playing left tackle for Alabama, slotting into the NFL and trying to do that for the Lions with our pick there at number 17. Moving on to number 18 here with the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, this team has had a certain player mocked to them for weeks now. It feels like since the combine that Dylan Thieneman from Oregon has slotted into that position and played for them, and it almost feels like a perfect fit. They do need secondary help. They need safety help, and Dylan Thieneman absolutely showed out in that combine. Had one of the best combines out of anybody there. Put himself in the first round conversation, which he really wasn't in that conversation prior to it. So really impressive from him. Way to boost your draft stock, kid. And on top of that, he had one of the biggest plays in all of college football this year. I've mentioned it before. We're both Virginia Tech fans. That changed the landscape of college football when he made that interception against Drew Aller to beat Penn State in overtime. And when that shook everything up, you realize this kid could be an absolute playmaking monster. And he ended up doing that all year for that team down there with Oregon. Of course, making it into the playoff and having some wins there or a win there. But the guy's very versatile. He can move all over the field. If you want to put him in the box as a safety, he can do that as well. So a very, very good player. Makes perfect sense for the Vikings there at number 18. Rolling on to number 19 here with the Carolina Panthers. We're going to have them going, Colin.
Yep, I've got him going with tackle out of Georgia, Monroe Freeling. This guy kind of shot up draft boards.
Yeah.
Uh, honestly, kind of before the combine, he's like one of the main tackles in the
Mhm.
draft that people think is definitely going to stick there at tackle. He's
Yeah.
got the size and the upside there. One of the highest upsides for a tackle in the draft. Obviously, we were just talking about Proctor as well. So you've kind of seen him run on tackles here in this
Yeah.
middle of the first round. So we could see that happen in the draft. But Monroe Freeling here to protect Bryce Young. You know, this could be Bryce Young's make or break season. He
Yep.
wasn't bad last year by any means, but he did not perform maybe like Panthers fans would really, really want. And when you took him with the first overall pick, obviously much better than what you were getting out of him. But we'll see where they go after this season.
Yeah, and like you said, they haven't necessarily got the version of him that you were expecting. I mean, you traded a king's ransom to get him. If you remember that trade, it included what ended up being Caleb Williams. It included DJ Moore. So it was a very hefty price to go up and try to get him, and he hasn't necessarily panned out at the level you'd hope, but he was better last year. And like you said, he took his team to the playoffs, but he needs to be protected still. And Monroe Freeling is the truest of true left tackle prospects in this draft. He will play left tackle in the NFL. He has incredible upside. He has incredible movement abilities. This guy could go as high as number 6 to the Cleveland Browns. So there's a world where this guy goes anywhere on this draft board. Today we just have him falling to number 19, and I think the Panthers are getting an absolute monster. Ika Mekongwu is down with injury, so they're going to need a tackle to fill in for him. And Monroe Freeling very easily could just play left tackle in the NFL for this team for the future. I think he's a very, very good player, and I think, like I said, he could anywhere from top 10 and falling all the way down into the 30s. Love the player, love the fit there for the Panthers, who desperately need to get help on that offensive line with the injuries that they have suffered this offseason. Rolling on in number 20 here with the Green Bay Packers. And of course, early in this draft, we had them go Jermod McCoy, the upside swing, taking the shot that maybe he would have ended up being here, but maybe not. There's a lot of teams throughout that time that from pick 12 to 20 that would have needed a corner and maybe would have looked at him and said, man, we're going to take the swing. So they got him there. They shored that up. There's more edge rushers in this class that you can go after down the board a little bit, and so that's where we went. And that's going to be Keldrick Falk out of Auburn, a guy that only had 2 sacks last year, but the production was there just a year before, and he's also just a very fun player to watch. He has a game record. He has the potential to be an awesome player in the NFL, and he also brings you versatility. He can slide inside, play D tackle for you some, and do a very good job at stopping the run. He's very good in that part of his game, and I think he will need to work on the pass rush, become a better edge rusher to maybe become a top NFL player at that position in the future. He can play immediately for this Dallas defense, which desperately needs help. They were one of the worst defenses, giving up over 30 points per game last year. That can't happen. That cannot happen. You are not going to win very many football games, no matter how good that offense is. So go get Keldrick Falk, help out that entire defensive line unit. Love the player, love the fit. Colin, rolling into number 21. This is your Steelers, so I'll let you take it from here.
Yep, we've got him going with Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana. You saw him shoot up boards as well. He had that amazing catch against Penn State that kind of,
Yep.
honestly, it kind of cemented Mendoza's Heisman Award. But it was an incredible catch by him.
Yep.
And he just had a great season overall, really. And with this pick, I mean, Pittsburgh goes from last year having arguably one of the worst receiving cores in all of football
Yep.
to now you have DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman Jr., and you're adding Omar Cooper Jr. So I think you go from one of the worst to probably at least top 10 for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
So you can completely flip it around here as far as receivers goes. Now, what they're going to do at quarterback is still kind of uncertain.
Yeah.
It's looking like they'll probably go Aaron Rodgers, but he's still not signed yet. So we'll see what happens there. But
Yeah.
At the end of the day, people have been saying some really good things about Will Howard so far this year.
Yeah.
So if he has to start, I don't think it's the end of the world. And if you don't have a good year, you have a great quarterback class next year. So we'll see how it goes. I think that wide receiver is obviously the team's still their biggest need because you have DK Metcalf and Michael Pittman Jr., but I think they need a third. You need a guard and
Yeah.
a safety as well, but the only guard here that I think would be worth taking would be Vega Ione.
Mhm.
If he falls, I think you have to snatch him.
Yeah,
Honestly,
absolutely.
he's one of the best guard prospects we've seen in a while. So if he falls to you, I think you have to take him no matter who's on the board at wide receiver. But then safety, I think if Omar Cooper Jr. is there, you've got to take him over most of the safeties in this draft. So
Yeah.
I love this pick for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and if there's some world where Dylan Thieneman falls to 21, I think they would be heavily involved with him. But McNeil Warren, you see him on the board there, you're staring at it, you say, man, he's right there with these guys. He's kind of been a draft sweetheart. He's been a riser that maybe shouldn't have risen as much. I think he's still a good player. But I think that if you get Omar Cooper, this guy's got tons of potential. If you watched Indiana play football this year, this dude catches every single pass thrown his way. He literally drops nothing. He never drops a pass. And the Steelers' biggest gaping hole they have is maybe that slot receiver position where they just need to fill that need. And Omar Cooper, some of his best work come from the slot position. So if you can get him there and let him play that, Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing missiles to 3 really good players, and that could be an awesome offense to watch as a Steelers fan, man. Think about the lineups you can run out there when you've got Omar Cooper, Metcalf, Pittman. If Metcalf does something stupid, you don't have to worry about Calvin Austin leading your team in receiving yards. You've got the tight ends who are just incredible tight ends, both of them. The receiver room could be much better for whoever that quarterback is. So I love the addition of Omar Cooper there to the Steelers, and I know you love that pick as you just made it. Rolling into number 22 here with the Los Angeles Chargers. This is a team that can go one of two ways, in my opinion, and that is interior D-line, exterior D-line. You're going edge rusher or you're going defensive lineman. I think they go edge rusher in this final mock that we're looking at here, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that Akeem Mesidor is still on the board. And this is a guy that at Miami caused a ton of havoc. A guy that had close to 10 sacks or more than 10 sacks last season with Miami. He was actually the better pass rusher between the two of him and Bain. Bain just caused more pressure. Messidor finished them. He got to the quarterback. He had the sack numbers. Maybe not as good of a run defender. Bain is one of the best in college football at that, but Messidor was still incredible off that edge. I think they don't have Khalil Mack forever. He's only getting older, and Odafe Owe is out the door. He's no longer there. So you have to go fill that need, and they have to do it with an edge rusher in the draft. They didn't necessarily get anybody in the offseason. So Akeem Messidor, really, really good player, falls to you at 22. I think you run to the board and you take that one as quick as possible. Love the fit, love the player. Think it makes a lot of sense for the Chargers. Colin, rolling in number 23 here with the Eagles, a team that maybe have a couple of riches and maybe a couple question marks. A.J. Brown could be out the door. Who knows? What are we going to have them doing today?
Yeah, we've got them going with Max Ianicher. The hope is to be the replacement for Lane Johnson there for the Eagles. And you build up that offensive line and you get Saquon going again, and this team could be scary
Yep.
again. When they were at their best, even during the Super Bowl year, you're still having some issues out of A.J. Brown. I think that's just a given at this point that he's going to cause some issues.
Yeah.
So I think they need to focus on that run game and even pass game here with Ianicher, you're going to get some protection there as
Yep.
well. So, love this pick for the Eagles. I think it's a step in the right direction for them and getting back to that Super Bowl.
Yeah, and again, this is a guy that's just been heavily linked to the Eagles. We've kind of talked about how we're making the picks on what we think is going to happen based on intel, not necessarily what we think should happen. And he might not be as high of a prospect as a Blake Miller or someone else on the board, but he makes perfect sense to fit in here. And they love his ability to potentially stick at left tackle. And like you said, he could be their Lane Johnson replacement, which is going to come someday. Maybe not in the near future, but he's 35 plus years old, so it's coming soon. And Ianicher has the ability to stick at left tackle, they hope. And so it makes sense that he fits there at number 23 with the Eagles. Moving on to number 24 here, of course, this pick acquired via that Travis Hunter trade that was made last year. And the Browns, they already took the receiver. They were able to stay in the house and grab a guy from the state of Ohio in Carnell Tate. So at 24, you got to go out and fix the offensive line because whoever the quarterback is, he got his weapon. Now he needs the protection. To me, there's one more left tackle prospect on the board, and they've moved him up and down this PFF board quite a bit. To me, I think he's a little bit underrated now, ranked 38th, and that's Caleb Lomu. Of course, this guy played left tackle in college, and like you said earlier, a lot of these prospects played pretty good in college. The measurables maybe just holding them back, but he was able to do that in college at a high level. I think he'd come into the NFL, maybe be an immediate impact player for this team. And whoever that quarterback is, I think maybe Deshaun Watson ends up being the starter, but there's obviously a lot of options there. They need protection. They have to stay upright. They have to be healthy and able to play. So they got their weapon. Now they get the guy that can protect their backside. Love Caleb Lomu. I think, again, a very good player coming out of Utah that has a lot of upside and a lot of potential. Colin, number 25 here with the Bears. Where are you going to have them going?
Yeah, we got them going with T.J. Parker out of Clemson.
Yep.
Love this pick for the Bears. They need some help on that defense, and I think this is another step in the right direction for the Bears. The offense, you saw them making gains there with Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator. Caleb Williams had a pretty good year, and the offense kind of got rolling there. But the defense was not ideal at times. So I think getting T.J. Parker here would be a great addition for the team, and you see all these Clemson names in this first round, but or on the board at least for the first round. But
Yeah.
They just did not have a great year. But these guys are all super talented.
Yeah, and like you said, we're going to have a little bit of a run here of Clemson players, and it is kind of surprising that they didn't have the best season. Maybe that's hinting more at the guy running the whole thing and not necessarily the talent that was on the field. I think there's some question marks there for sure, but the talent is surely there. TJ Parker has been a very good player at times in college, maybe not the best season that he wanted to have this year, but if you go back and look at some of the production, it's been unreal. I think TJ Parker makes perfect sense there to the Bears who need some edge rush help, some D-line help. Really good player, like the fit there with the Bears. Moving on to number 26 here with the Buffalo Bills, who yet again fell short of the goal that they're trying to attain. And the interior of that defensive line may be the biggest issue they had, giving up over 5 yards a carry this year, one of the worst rushing defenses in the NFL. You've got to fix that problem, and the only way to do that is go out and get an interior defensive lineman and maybe one of the highest upside swings in this draft in Peter Woods out of Clemson. Like I said, the Clemson run is coming up. Woods is a really, really good player who just didn't have the best season. And I think that Before the season started, this guy was a projected top 10 pick. He was a guy that was stated to be the best defensive lineman in this draft easily, and now he's not easily. There's a lot of guys in the conversation, although we're going to have him going first out of those D lineman prospects. I still think that there's a lot of talent, a lot of upside, a lot of you could tap into here with Peter Woods. The talent didn't just disappear that he had 2 years ago. It was just a down season, and I think the Bills are able to go out, make this pick, hope he comes in and stops the run like they need him to. But also, man, if he reaches that upside, this could be an absolute home run at number 26 for the Buffalo Bills. I think that, again, Clemson having that down season, maybe more coming from the top and not necessarily the talent on the field. And we'll see how these guys work out in the NFL. But the player is a perfect fit for the Bills at 26. Moving on to number 27 here with the San Francisco 49ers. Colin, where are you going to have them going?
Yep, we've got him going Denzel Boston
Yep.
out of Washington. He's kind of your outside receiver. He
Yep.
doesn't play much slot. He's not the best route runner, but he can go up and get just about anything. So, a ton of potential from this guy. And you don't know what with Brandon Ayuk right now. He seems to kind of be losing it. So,
Yeah.
you don't know about him going into next year at all. So, you're going to need some wide receivers for Purdy to throw the ball to. And I think you're getting a good one in Denzel Boston. I think the upside on this guy is incredible. He could be very, very good. I could see him being like a kind of like not the same size, but somewhat like a DK Metcalf
Yep.
or something to that effect. So, love this pick for the 49ers here.
Yeah, and he is that big-bodied receiver, like you said. They did go sign Mike Evans. Who better than Mike Evans to teach the guy to become a bigger receiver? But they also have Ricky Pearsall, who probably will play more of that slot role. And you don't have to worry about Ayuk. You can just throw him out the door and say, "Man, if you can't figure it out, we're not going to deal with it. We're gonna run out those guys that we have now. Draft Boston, let him fix that issue, and then you've got a really nice receiver room. That could be one of the better receiver rooms in the NFL this year. I want to see Brock Purdy throwing the ball to these guys. I want to see Kittle out there. I want to see McCaffrey catching passes. This offense could be incredible. It could be one of the best in the NFL if everything goes right. They were able to fix their left tackle issue, not having the contract situation going on anymore. So we stray away from that tackle. We go receiver. We go win now. Try to win when Brock Purdy isn't necessarily the highest paid guy in football. He obviously getting that big time contract, but it's not necessarily the what we saw Dak Prescott get with the $60+ million a year. So I think you got to try to win now, and this team is set up to do it with a couple older players like McCaffrey and Kittle, and Boston can come in and help you do that right away. Rolling on to number 28 here with the Houston Texans, and they're kind of upset with how this board's fallen. That the only option left is Blake Miller. Not necessarily is Blake Miller a bad player, but who knows where their board sits. All the other linemen go, and that's just how drafts go sometimes. And Blake Miller, still a good player, still a good fit there, can play tackle for this team. But if they had more selections, maybe they go somewhere different. We've seen Miller linked to this team. We've even seen Miller linked to the Texans in a trade up situation where they come inside the top 20, and he still ends up with the Houston Texans. So I think it makes perfect sense that he fits there with them in their system. If he sticks out and plays tackle, that's a more important position. But if you need him to, you shift him down to guard. A lot of the best guards in the NFL were guys that played tackle in college. So it makes perfect sense to go out, get Blake Miller, get a fix on that offensive line, and protect CJ Stroud, who's had a couple rough seasons here, mainly due to the fact that his offensive line is just no good. It continues that run on Clemson players as well, Colin, at 25, 26, and 28. That's going to stop here at 29. Where do you have the Kansas City Chiefs going?
Yeah, got him going with Emmanuel McNeil Warren, uh, the guy that absolutely shot up boards. He was kind
Yeah.
of unheard of until the combine. He had a great combine. And it absolutely shot up boards. Chiefs are in need of a safety pretty bad. Ever since they lost Juan Thornhill, I mean, he wasn't. I saw him last year in Pittsburgh. It's not much to lose
Yeah.
there, but it was all they had pretty much, and the safety depth is just not there. Honestly, just secondary depth in general for the Chiefs is not
Yeah.
there right now, or anyone really all that great in the secondary period. So you can rebuild that greatly in one draft. You
Yeah.
get two highly touted prospects. So I love this pick for the Chiefs. They build up on that defense, and it was whenever they were in Super Bowl contention year in and year out. They had a bad year last year,
Yeah.
but I mean they're still a scary team. But whenever they were an elite team, they had a really good defense to go on with the offense.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And that complements your offense better than anything is that really good defense that can get you the ball back. And that wasn't something they had last year. They had a lot of issues. The secondary is a huge problem because they lose McDuffie. They lose a few other cornerback positions. They're playing a corner at safety. They need to go out and get a safety and fill that need. And so now you fix that secondary, like you said, in one draft with top end prospects. Moving into number 30 here with the Miami Dolphins. This is a team that, like I said before, they kind of need anything, but please get Malik Willis a weapon. Get him somebody to throw the football to. There is a very nice player down the board still available, and that is Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. I think this is a really good player. I think this is a good fit. He could come in and be the wide receiver one immediately in Miami because they don't have anybody there that is going to compete for the snaps other than maybe Devon Achane out of the backfield catching passes. He might be the most efficient pass catcher on this roster. So love Concepcion. I think you, as a Steelers fan, you'd be fine if he was there at 21 and Cooper wasn't. So I think that that shows you how good of a player he is that you'd even take him at 21. And I think there's teams that consider him in the top 20, maybe even the Panthers at 19. So he's falling all the way to you at 30. It feels like a really high value pick. And so now you've grabbed yourself some nice pieces to complement Malik Willis in that offense. You've got a receiver for him to throw to, you've got a tackle to protect him. Maybe the things can head in the right direction, and we see this Miami Dolphins team competing yet again in a few years. And funny enough, this was the Jalen Waddle trade that lands them the future receiver. Maybe he's as good as Jalen Waddle was for them in the NFL. Moving on to number 31 here, Colin, with the Patriots, a team that had an awesome season but just fell short in the Super Bowl. Where are you going to have them going?
Yeah, I've got him going with Zion Young out of Missouri. I think this might be his debut on the channel, at least debut in the first
Yeah,
round.
yeah.
So he's a bigger edge guy, so he'll complement Harold Landry pretty well. So I like this pick for the Patriots. Obviously, they're a good team. They made it to the Super Bowl last year, so there's not too much to replace here. But they do have a kind of a need there at the edge, and I think that you're kind of feeling that here with Zion Young.
Yeah, and like you said, man, this dude is a freak athletically. 6'5", 260 plus pounds. That is a monster of a human being. Known for his athleticism too, which is really impressive for a guy that big. So if he can move that well off the edge, he complements Harold Landry, like you said, very, very well. Because Landry's the smaller, skinnier speed rusher, and then Zion Young can be the bigger, more athletic, maybe quick in short movements, and maybe helps you in the run game. So I like Zion Young a lot there. I think he fits perfectly at 31 to the Patriots. Last but not least, we're playing on to the other Super Bowl team and the team that ended up finishing it off and getting the W this year. That is the Seattle Seahawks. This is a team that they don't have very many holes. They don't have much that they need to fix, but they did lose Tariq Woolen in the offseason. And so if there's any position to address, that would be the cornerback position. Today, I'm going to go with Colton Hood out of Tennessee. This is a guy that had to step up and be a superstar for his team this year. He was not expected to be the cornerback one for this Volunteers team. That was supposed to be Jermod McCoy. Jermod McCoy is not healthy. He's unavailable. He doesn't show up to play for this team this year. And so everything is thrown onto the shoulders of Colton Hood. And man, did he handle that really, really well. He is a top, high end upside guy that a team like the Seahawks can take a chance on. They were in the Super Bowl. You can take swings when you're in the Super Bowl. So I think Colton Hood is a perfect fit to replace Tariq Woolen, to play that cornerback position well. And this defense could be just as good as it was last year. This team could be just as good as it was last year. We may see a repeat champion in the Seattle Seahawks. Colin, you're looking at the entire draft board there, 1 through 32. Give me one player that you think just stands out as maybe the steal of the draft.
I know it's a super high pick, but I absolutely love Sonny Styles. I
Yeah.
think he has some insane upside just athletically, and I think he fits in well there with John Harbaugh. So I absolutely love that pick to the Giants. I think that that's absolutely the direction they should go.
Yeah, and I agree with you thinking that this guy could be unbelievable. A Fred Warner comparison, I think if you get that comparison, you're pretty happy if you end up getting a player that's that good. For me, I'll go down the board just a little bit and say that he could be a mega steal if he ends up being the player he once was. And that is number 26, the Buffalo Bills grabbing Peter Woods. This is a guy that was a projected top 10 pick. If he ever turns into that type of player yet again, they are getting a monster steal at number 26. He could be one of the best interior defensive linemen that the Bills have had over the recent couple years. So think he's a really good fit there too. Like I said, they have to stop the run a little bit better than they did last year. And so you do that with Peter Woods at number 26. Colin, any other picks there that you're a big fan of?
Yeah, I just want to compliment the Chiefs. I love that draft for them. I'd never realized how bad their secondary was going into this year, and I think you completely address it in this, and it kind of completely revamps the secondary for the Chiefs.
Yep, like you said, they add two pieces in Mansour Delane and Emmanuel McNeil Warren that are just high upside guys. Obviously, Mansour is more so a low or a high floor, high upside guy as well, but they can fix that issue. And man, it'd be scary if they're just right back in the competition, trying to compete for another Super Bowl next season. I will show quick love to the Titans with Jeremiah Love. No pun intended there, but I love the player. I think he's awesome. I have been a huge fan of him. I cover college football every season, and he's one of my favorite players to watch. So if he ends up in a Titans uniform, I'd be super, super happy to get to watch him every Sunday. And I think the Titans are going in the right direction. Of course, they signed that big time deal with Super Bowl 2030 in Nashville, Titans' new stadium. So maybe that's us playing there. Yeah, it's maybe some wishful thinking, but if you got Jeremiah Love, Cam Ward, and a nice couple pieces around them, maybe they're there someday. Colin, I'll give you a little bit more time here to talk about Amari Cooper and the Steelers, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I absolutely love the pick. I think as long as Omar Cooper Jr. or Casey Concepcion or Makai Lemon are still available in the draft, I think Pittsburgh absolutely has to go that way. With the exception of Vega Ione, I think he would fill in the slot for Isaac Seumalo
Yeah.
insanely well. I mean, it's just you're fixing that position and maybe even getting better there.
Yeah.
So that's the only exception that I think they don't go wide receiver. But besides that, I absolutely love the pick.
Yeah, and one last thing I want to add in. If you guys are looking at our board here, this is the last mock we're doing, so you're kind of getting our projections. There will be trades. There absolutely will be trades, but we didn't do trades today because it just messes things up. It gets the board all over the place, and then you don't know what player fits where. I think that one of the trades that will happen is someone's coming up and picking Ty Simpson. I don't know who that will be. I think your Steelers could consider it if they don't want to bring Aaron Rodgers back. I think that the Cardinals absolutely can consider it, and I tell you who's the perfect candidate. It's down there at 32 with the Seahawks if they want to just wait a couple picks and get that corner a little bit later. But someone is coming up and getting Ty Simpson, and that's the last thing I have to add because it's going to happen. Just prepare for it too. Of course, we didn't have anybody picking him down at the very bottom of this draft. Colin, thank you so much for helping me out throughout the entire mock draft season. Had a ton of fun with you. If you got anything else you want to say, time is now.
Yes, sir. It's been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you a bunch. I know you guys love the content on the channel. These mock drafts do super well, so I hope you guys love this one. I hope we nail every single pick. Go 1 through 32, hit every single one of them, and we're just the best mock drafters of all time. But if not, I hope you guys still come back. Like, subscribe, comment if you guys do enjoy the content, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.
Peace.